Hey Gathering Youth, I am so excited to be launching week 1 of our brand new series called Love Hate. It's going to be a great series, and so, I have a lot of pet peeves. I do, okay? I get annoyed by the slightest thing, which is a good thing actually. Research shows that the higher your IQ is, the more you get annoyed by things, so maybe me getting annoyed by certain things is a good thing, who knows? But I want to read off a list of some of my pet peeves, okay? And I want you, while you're sitting there, to agree with me or disagree with me, okay? Pet peeve number 1, slow walkers. Oh my goodness, okay? You ever been walking in a hallway and the group of people in front of you are walking so slow? And you got to get past them, and then you got to walk a little bit faster than them, and then you have that awkward moment when you're both right next to each other, but you're trying to get past them. Slow walkers, not for it, okay? Number 2, and this may trigger some of you, couples who sit next to each other when there's seats in front of them. So have you ever seen at a restaurant or something, couples that are sitting next to each other in the booth, and there's nobody on the other side? Why? Why are you doing this? Why? Just sit across from each other. Look at each other when you talk. Is it that difficult? Oh, it's annoying. Okay? Or, 3, this will send me. Leaving a light on in a room that nobody is in. Why do you got to leave the lights on? You're wasting electricity. Man, that's annoying. Okay? 4, and I know this is what I'm doing right now, but people who whine all the time, come on. Stop whining, do something about it. Come on, give me a break. And then 5, and we'll move on. But when people mess with the radio while you're driving, and I know some of you are in middle school, so you're not driving yet, but you high schoolers, you feel me on this. When you're driving, you've got the music. Only the driver has the control on the music, okay? Don't grab my aux cord and change my music. I've got the Spotify playlist I want on. Let it be, okay? These are just a few things that I hate. We could go on longer, but we don't have enough time. But, I'd love to actually know what some of your pet peeves are. Actually message those, drop those in the comments. Let's see everybody's pet peeves. But we live in a day and age where it is so easy to hate things. It is so stinking easy to hate things. Man, you go to Twitter and you type in anything, and there are people hating on things. You go to Instagram, you just type in anything, you will find somebody hating something. You go to TikTok, go to anybody in the hype house, and you will find thousands of people hating on people. Why on earth is it so easy to jump to the extremes? And that's what we're talking about in this series. We're going to be talking about love and hate, the love-hate relationship, and the extremes of both, and why the extremes are so dangerous for what God has called us to do, which is to change lives and to impact a culture. And so that's what we're talking about today. So we are going to be going into Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29, and the verse will be on the screen. But I want to read it to you. Okay, now always remember, context in the Bible is everything. Imagine if you were watching Avengers Endgame and you had never seen Avengers Infinity War, and you just got dropped in the middle of somebody snapping and people dying, okay? You wouldn't know what's happening. That's just like the Bible. You've got to know what's happening in order to understand what Jesus is trying to tell you or what the Bible is trying to communicate. So that's what I'm going to try and explain really quick. So there's this guy named Paul who writes letters, and that's what Ephesians is. Ephesians is actually a letter from this guy named Paul to a church in a city called Ephesus. And that's exactly what this is. That's why it's called Ephesians. If you get a really old Bible, sometimes it'll say the epistle to the Ephesians. Basically, epistle just means letter. But so Paul is writing to this church in this city. And this is a very large city. Ephesus was a very metropolitan area. Very much so like Tampa or Miami or Jacksonville, Orlando. Just a pretty large metropolitan area. It was a major port city. And so you had a lot of traffic coming in and out of the city. So a lot of cultures, it wasn't just a homogenous group of people that looked the same, talked the same, and acted the same. There was a lot of people in this city. And when there's a lot of different people in one place, hate and anger tend to rise up. And that's just what was going on. And so Paul is writing this because that's not what Jesus says. Jesus says we don't need to hate people, we need to love people. He even says love your enemy. And so obviously any hate is wrong then. So Paul writes this letter, and so that's where we pick up the story. And here it goes, verse 29. Paul says, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up and fits the occasion, that may give it grace to those to hear. So a few things of note with this verse is the word corrupting talk. The original language of the New Testament, which is what this book is in, was actually called Koine Greek, which is ancient Greek. And in the Greek, the word corrupting is also translated to toxic, and it also means unwholesome, bothersome, and really the root of it is rotten. That's what it means. It's like finding a rotted apple. It's just nasty, it's bad, it creates chaos. And so that's what Paul is saying here. He says, don't let rotten language come out of your mouth. Only let language that builds people up, is fit for the occasion, and is good come out of your mouth. Which is very different than what we deal with. I mean, let's be honest here. It's really easy to spill the tea. It's really easy to gossip. And I know you're probably like, oh, I never gossip, but I know who is. And that's gossip right there. It's so easy to spill the tea, okay? It is. It really is. And it's, if you don't spend time trying to notice it, you'll gossip and never realize you're a gossip. Because nobody thinks they're a gossip. They're just telling the truth or, whatever. And it puts them in a position where they're gossiping and don't realize they're gossiping, which is not what we're called to do. And so maybe you're like, okay, well, if I'm trying to do this as the Bible says, and I'm trying to build people up, then how do I do that? Well, first, normally there's some questions we ask ourselves, before we say anything. Let's see if any of these pop into your mind. Will it make me look funny? Will it make me look cool? Will it make me look smart? 3 questions we tend to ask ourselves. That's what, your class comedian, which I was in high school and middle school. I was the guy that had a smart aleck comment for everything. Almost everything I did, I thought, is this funny before I said it? Which 9 times out of the 10 it wasn't funny, but if I laugh at my own jokes, I'm completely okay with it. Does it make you look cool? Does it make you look smart? Those are the things we tend to ask ourselves right before we say something, and maybe those thoughts go so fast that you don't even notice them. But I encourage you, before you speak next time, notice that you're actually making these decisions before you speak. It'll actually make you realize some of the psychology in it. Maybe you ask, is it true? And we live in a day and age right now where fake is okay. That things that are fake, as long as they're first, are completely fine, which is not the case. But I want you to add a question. Whenever you're about to speak, I want you to ask one question to yourself. Is it helpful? Is it helpful? That's all I want you to ask. Whenever you speak, is it helpful? And what do I mean by helpful? I mean, does it build people up? Does it further the kingdom? And does it honor God? Does it honor yourself too and the other person? But is it helpful? That's the only thing you need to ask before you speak. Because gossip is not helpful. It makes you look bad. It doesn't matter who you're gossiping to. It doesn't matter. It makes you look bad. And you don't want to look bad. I know I certainly don't want to look bad. I don't want other people to look bad, but I really don't want me to look bad. So I shouldn't be gossiping, right? I should be asking myself, is it helpful? I should be asking that before I speak anything over people. So when we're talking about speaking and we're talking about this life of building people up and we're talking about this love-hate, and that hate speak is so easy to get into and that we need to ask ourselves these questions before we say anything. Let's go to the person who spoke the most life over everything. Let's go to Jesus for a second. Because as Christians, if you didn't actually know this, the word Christian means follower of Christ. It's a very ancient term. It arose in a city called Antioch very early in our faith. Before that, it was just called the Way. But Christian just means follower of Christ, a Christ follower. And so if we're Christ followers, we got to follow what Jesus said. And so let's look back at what Jesus said about you. Throughout the Bible, we see that Jesus talks about you and me. He says he knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb. He knew us. Before our parents knew we existed, he knew us. The Bible tells us he has more thoughts about us each day than there are individual grains of sand on the beaches and in the entirety of the sea floor. He has more thoughts about us each day than individual grains of sands. That's trillions of thoughts each day about you and about me, individually. Just think about that. No matter how unimportant you think you are worth everything to Jesus. He went to the cross to buy you and me a relationship with him. You were worth it. That's what he paid for you. I mean, let's look at the things we buy. This t-shirt was probably like 15 bucks. I was not going to pay 50 bucks for this t-shirt. It's not a $50 t-shirt. It's a $15 t-shirt. And so if we have this logical conclusion that what we pay is what it was worth, Jesus paid for you with his life. The life of God was spent on you. That tells you how much you're worth to him. So if he did that for you, and we want to follow him, then how much should our words be building, and how much should our words be helpful? Our words should be building people up. And I encourage you, the second you start speaking life into relationships, into people, it will change everything. Like I challenge you, as soon as we're done with this video, I want you to go up to one of your parents or a sibling, and I want you to just tell them, you're awesome. Not mockingly, not sarcastic. Just tell them you're awesome. Or maybe your mom. Go up to your mom and tell your mom how much she means to you. Just a quick sentence. Just say, Mom, you're awesome. I love you. And watch the reaction. Just watch. Life-giving words will change everything in your life. They will change everything. But let's go back to Jesus for a second. Maybe this was the first time you've ever heard that Jesus loved you. Maybe this was the first time you've ever heard that Jesus paid everything for you and that you mattered to him. You weren't some afterthought. Maybe everyone else in your life has told you you were a mistake and that your identity didn't matter. Your name would be forgotten. You're worthless. But you hear in this Bible and in this book about this man named Jesus who paid it all for you and wants to have a relationship with you. Maybe that's the first time you've heard it. And you want to have this relationship with Jesus. Well, it's very easy. All you got to do is ask him. And so that's what we're about to do in just a few seconds. I'm going to lead us through a prayer, just a simple prayer. There's nothing magical about it. We don't chant it. We don't get matching tattoos. It's not a spell. All that matters is the meaning behind the words. And so if you're interested in making this decision, you only have to pray this prayer once. Just pray it after me, all right? You can pray it out loud. You can pray it in your heart. It doesn't matter. Just say it after me. Say, Dear Jesus, thank you for dying on the cross for me. Thank you for saving me. I know I'm a sinner, and I know I cannot earn it, but I'm turning to you, and I'm asking you to save me, to teach me how to live for the rest of my life. In your name, amen. Now, if you prayed that prayer for the first time, or that's the first time you've meant it, in just a few minutes, I'm going to go over how to get in contact with us. Please let us know you made that decision. I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm not going to drag you up onto a stage. I just want to celebrate with you this incredible decision that you have made. It's the greatest decision you will ever make. And I just want to celebrate with you. Awesome. Well, so I want to go over just some quick announcements before I let you go. One, please join us on Wednesday nights. They're awesome. Gathering Youth meets on Sundays and on Wednesday nights. And on Wednesday nights, we do what is called G groups, which is we break off into groups of our own age. And we just talk about, what we're going through. But we talk about the Bible, and we talk about, Jesus, and we build cool relationships with people our own age that are all trying to seek after Jesus. We're not weird. We don't get matching tattoos. That's not how we operate. We just want to have fun. And we want you to join us. We're creating a bunch of leaders like yourself that will change the world for Jesus. And so we want you to join us on Wednesday nights at 7. They're all online. You don't have to meet in person. We all meet online. And so all you got to do is just go to our website, which is www.gatheringchurch.cc. It's on the bottom of your screen right now. Or you can go to our Instagram page, which is @WeAreGatheringYouth. Youth is spelled YTH, but you can see it on the bottom of your screen as well. And all those routes, all you got to do is click the link in the description, and you will find our meeting online, our Zoom, and we want you to join us then at 7 p.m. every Wednesday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see you there. And the next week we will continue our awesome series called Love Hate. See you Wednesday, guys.
When nobody else believes you've got anything left, there's a God in heaven